Wait lang ha. Sige. Okay. Uh, Ayan. So our lecture for today is all about basics of bacterial expression system. So we'll be talking about choice of sorry, choice of host organism, plasmids and vectors for protein expression, selection markers and reporter genes, and lastly is yung promoters and regulatory elements. Actually, yung mga information dito, this will be very essential um, when when you go to genetics kasi these will be discussed then. So, ayan. So bakit natin kailangan ng genetic engineering? Actually, in our field sa molecular diagnostics, when you do ELISA or yung enzyme linked immunosorbent assay, like if your kit, teka lang ha, gamit lang ko ng earphone, headphone. Hello, am I audible? Hello?
Yes
Yes
po.
po, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So as I was saying, no, na yung importance ng genetic engineering, like yung based on my experience, yung genetic engineering is not only important sa pag-produce ng mga genetically modified organism, it is also important in a clinical setting, like in a hospital, like in our institute at the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine. Because if we want to produce diagnostic test kits, di ba, in ELISA, what do we need? We need antigens, we need proteins. And for us to produce a massive amount of proteins, we need to do genetic engineering. Now, we have to design a plasmid so that yung na-produce na design nating plasmid will be capable of producing more recombinant proteins. Okay? One example of, let's say, no, yung what do you call this? The way we measure antibodies. I was able to discuss this last time na the design of the ELISA would be double antigen. Okay, yeah, it's a double antigen wherein yung proteins being used to coat the wells are recombinant proteins. And then you'll have your analytes, and then yung detector molecule would be an antigen that is coupled with HRP or a protein that is coupled with horseradish peroxidase. So in that setup alone or in that diagram, if you try to imagine, okay, um, sorry, I was lost. Anyways, ayun, we need essentially yung component ng ELISA to measure antibodies, we need recombinant proteins. Okay? And yeah, for SARS-CoV-2, ito yung mga yung mga normally na ginagamit no to detect antibodies would be S is the spike protein, N is the nucleoprotein, and part of the spike protein is the RBD or the receptor binding domain, which is flanking to the N-terminal domain. Ayan. So, ayan. So very important yung pag-develop, no, very important yung recombinant protein in the field of diagnostics kasi let's try to check the rationale here. There are different ways kasi to detect pathogens, di ba? You can detect pathogens based on their structure. Ang tawag doon is antigen testing. So, in antigen testing, ang dinedetect natin doon is yung part of the virus or part of the pathogen. Okay? And you guys know this. Meron ding viral RNA or any nucleic acid. Now, ano yung difference ng antigen testing versus sa nucleic acid amplification test or the PCR testing? As seen in here, diba? So by the way, in your x-axis, this is the onset. This highlighted diagram here, this is the symptomatic stage. So let's say this is the onset of symptoms. This is 7 days after the onset of symptoms, 14, 21, and 28. So as you see, very high ang sensitivity of viral antigen for the first 2 weeks. Okay, from the onset of symptoms. Pero drastic na nun, yung kanyang pag-decrease after 7th day. So it is best, that is why, di ba, yung mataas yung probability or yung reliability of a test kit for an antigen testing if yung infection is at very early stage. Okay? Pero after 2 weeks, as you see, hindi na detectable yung mga antigens kasi your body is trying to fight the virus, no? And now, so yun yung viral RNA, as you see, you can already detect the virus even before the onset of symptoms. Okay? Unlike sa antigen kasi dapat may simptomas ka muna. Napapalabas na yung sintomas mo bago ka makadetect ng virus. Pero for nucleic acid amplification test, diba, even before the onset of symptoms it and the virus is even detectable kahit na at its 21st day na siya. Okay? So yung sensitivity, essentially yung sensitivity is greater for nucleic acid or for PCR testing compared to viral antigen. Pero there is a rationale of why do we need to use antigen versus yung PCR kasi nga, di ba? Yung antigen test, that means very yung culturability or yung um, it's being correlated kasi to infectiousness window. So, kapag detectable yung antigen mo, that means pwede ka pang makahawa, right? Which is um, kapag PCR testing, even though na hindi ka naman na nakakahawa, pero nag-positive ka, pero hindi ka na infectious, no? Wala ka na sa infectious window. So detectable pa rin siya. So there's really a what do you call this? A correlation, no, of antigen and yung infectiousness state. Okay, now in here, as you see, as the antigen or as the virus concentration in the body is decreasing, kasi di ba decreasing na rin yung antigen as well as its nucleic acid, our immune system is working. So the first antibody that is being produced by our body is the IgM, immunoglobulin M. Okay? Pero yung kanyang lifespan, well, that's not the word. It's not the lifespan, pero yung how am I gonna say this? Pero the way we detect IgM is very short-lived lang. Kaya if we want to detect antibodies naman, to detect the presence of the pathogen using the antibodies, so IgM meaning you have a recent infection, IgM. Now, yung IgM, habang bumababa yung IgM, um, ayan, nag-increase naman yung pag-produce natin ng IgG. So IgG is to measure yung mga long-term immunity. So if nakapag-produce na tayo ng antibodies against the virus, then the antibody of interest would be the IgG. Okay? So kapag detectable yung IgM, o ibig sabihin halimbawa for hepatitis, kapag nakadetect kasi if you work in a hospital, so they measure yung IgG and IgM. So if you have a very high titer of IgG, that means you have a protective, meron kang protection against HEPA. Pero if your IgG is very low, so what they do is they administer yung vaccinations or against HEPA. Tapos, ayan, IgG is being measured. Kapag IgM naman, kapag dinedetect yung IgM mo, so that means you have a recent infection, let's say, no, HEPA, then, and then, nakadetect sila ng IgM mo, meaning, currently, you have an infection, recent infection. So, saan dito papasok yung mga proteins? Kasi we are discussing genetic engineering. Um, Papasok siya here. We need recombinant proteins for us to produce an ELISA to detect the viral antigen. We also need the recombinant proteins for us to detect IgG. We also need those recombinant proteins to detect IgM because we need target molecules that are coated on the surface of the wells. So that's how important recombinant proteins are in the field of diagnostics. And on top of those, no, if you want to produce, di ba, there is this what we call immunotherapy, di ba? Yung immunotherapy is that you induce, let's say your interest is you want to produce antibodies that would neutralize virus na mayroong manifestation like diarrhea. So ibig sabihin, if you have diarrhea and you're infected by the virus, meaning the virus is capable of invading your, or they can directly interact. You have a receptor for the virus in your intestine. Now, let's say mababa yung yung antibodies mo. Let's say you are PL-HIV or person living with HIV, or like you have AIDS, ganyan. So definitely yung pag-produce mo ng antibodies would be very, very low. So you are very vulnerable na to any types of disease. Now, kaya ang ginagawa is there's what we call immunotherapy, wherein you can neutralize a virus by way of ingesting um, yung mga uh, food na merong antibodies against the virus, like yung sa egg, you know. In one of, I don't know if I already shared this to you, pero during the height of pandemic, one of our projects was to produce antibodies against SARS-CoV-10. And yeah, so essentially what we did was we inoculated our chicken, yung mga decalved chicken, so that they can, so when I say inoculate, ibig sabihin, nag-administer kami, nag-inject kami ng virus. Okay, ng attenuated, when we say attenuated na like, or weakened virus, or part of the virus lang, like spike protein or receptor binding domain, etc. So that the chicken will produce antibodies against the virus or against the pathogen. Now, the antibodies will be produced, and the antibodies, by the way, from that chicken is called IgY. IgY is a chicken, but for humans, for mammals, it's called IgG. It's like para siyang yeah, it's kind of yeah, it's equated no to IgG in humans or in mammals. Pero for avian, it's IgY. Pero technically they're the same. Yeah, so since nakapag-produce yung chicken ng IgY, then kapag in-ingest mo yung itlog, tapos infected ka ng virus, no? So the antibodies from the egg will definitely neutralize the invading pathogens sa inyong intestine. So that's how immunotherapy works. And still, paano ka nakapag-induce ng antibodies? We need recombinant proteins. We need specific types or certain types lang, certain part lang ng virus. Like, ang gusto lang natin would be a part of the virus na directly interacting with our antibodies. So that would be proteins that are found on the surface of the virus, yung mga attachment proteins nila. And also, okay, so there's also a, ano din, there's like a gradient um, bar graph here wherein for viral antigen, as you see it, yeah, you have a very, this is the point wherein culturable yung virus, it's correlated to infectiousness. For RT-PCR, as you see before the onset, yeah, and then the sensitivity is decreasing through time. Ayan, for IgG, and so detectable lang siya 2 weeks after 2 weeks after the onset of symptoms, no? So yeah. So what else in here? Ayan. So this is called surrogate neutralization test. This is to measure yung neutralizing antibody present sa human. Pero normally, ang ginagawa sa amin sa virology is we use stem cells. Yeah, live cell yung ginagamit namin. Um, and a pseudovirus. So, essentially, this is like ELISA. Pero what I want to stress out in this figure is that in the sa plate na to, as you see, it is embedded or it is coated with protein. This is just to mimic our cell, yung virus interaction sa katawan natin. So these are human ACE2 receptor proteins. Okay. And then, yeah, and this is a receptor binding domain. It is conjugated with HRP or horseradish peroxidase. Kasi the HRP will do the redox reaction so that magkaroon ng fluorescence. And yeah, so kung napapansin nyo here, di ba, we need recombinant proteins like the RBD part of the virus. We also need the protein to serve as the receptor. Kasi these antibodies are not product of genetic engineering. Well, um, pwede naman. Kaya lang, yung antibodies kasi is really, really complex. Kaya medyo mahirap siya. And since yung antibody is crucial, yung shape niya. So, yep. Okay. Oops. So in this slide, this will just show you kung paano ba pumili ng molecular markers. Kasi 'di ba, let's say magde-develop ka ng detection ng ng diagnostic test kit. So we have different parts of the virus. You have your spike protein, nucleic capsid, envelope, membrane, glycoprotein. You even have these proteins that are embedded between the lipids, and the one where the RNA would surround coils itself. So out of those proteins, um, if your interest is more of specific of a high specificity, so that definitely you'll have to select which would be your molecular marker. Kasi pwede kasi na yeah, nucleic capsid is a very high, mataas yung kanyang sensitivity, but in terms of specificity, it's kind of not competitive compared to the spike protein. And that's because yung mga nucleic capsid, it's in terms of percent homology, like they're the same. Parang mataas yung similarity ng nucleocapsid ng SARS-CoV versus sa SARS-CoV-2 or other coronaviruses. Pero when it comes to mataas yung chance na makadetect ka nun kasi marami yung nucleocapsid. Okay, mataas yung sensitivity niya. But for the spike protein, di ba, it's very, it has a unique region. So kaya detectable yung na it's SARS-CoV-2 because ayan nga yung parang identity niya, no, its uniqueness and can be found in the spike protein. So in terms of specificity, mas mataas yung specificity. However, quite compromised yung kanyang sensitivity because of the nature of the spike protein itself. Kasi sila yung nakikipag-interact sa antibodies. Hence, yung kanyang mutation rate is very high as well. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mutations. Kasi di ba, as much as possible, they want to evade yung mga antibodies. So, the only way for them to do that is to mutate para hindi sila detectable ng antibodies. Kaya mataas yung mutation rate ng spike protein. But they are very, very specific. Okay. So, yeah, in selecting molecular marker, let's say I chose nucleoprotein and I performed some kind of molecular testing. Like I extracted the DNA. Okay, ayan. So I selected a gene family, let's say a nucleoprotein. I chose the molecular marker and then um a- yeah, after extracting the nucleic acid, I contacted like mga suppliers to do the sequencing for me. And then after 2 weeks, they're gonna give me the raw sequence. And then ako na yung mag-align and I'll be choosing different kinds of evolutionary model, which is kung ano man yung appropriate basis sa ano ko sa nilabas ng sequence ng um, software. And then I am now ready to carry out phylogenetic analysis and do the reconstruction. So let's say this is the cladogram of nucleoprotein. Okay, so this is nucleoprotein and this one is the spike protein. Halimbawa lang. So based from this, as you see, no, hindi mo ma-distinguish if sino yung closely related kay human chicken kasi everything is very the same, no? So, ayan. Unlike here, as seen in here, human and chicken, they would tend to cluster together using that marker kasi, ayan, they share a more recent common ancestor. So, in here naman, ayan, yung loach and the carp, they are more closely related to one another kasi they share a common recent ancestor. This is the bootstrap values. This is like 74%. This means the probability that this is correct, that they will cluster together every time is 74%. So yung mouse and rat is 79%. Ayan. So essentially based from this, um, assuming that I'm trying to select specific molecular markers, then it's a no-brainer that I'll be choosing the molecular marker A kasi I was able to have a very good cladogram, no? I was able to have a clade na nag-group yung human and chicken and the rest. So, in reading the cladogram, um, so if my question is which one is closely related to whale, cow, seal, mouse, or rat? Can you guess the answer? Sino yung closely related kay whale? Is it the cow, the seal, the mouse, or the rat? Go ahead. Go, guys. Isa lang nag-respond. Sino yung closely related kay whale? Cow, seal, mouse, or rat? Okay. So how many have responded? Okay, cow. Okay. Cow, frog. Cow po ba? Cow is closely related to whale. Cow. Guys, parang walang tumama. Wala talaga tumama kasi whale is equally related to cow, seal, mouse, and rat kasi they all share it. This is their recent common ancestor at this point. Now, so whale is equally related to cow, seal, mouse, and rat, but mouse and rat are closely related compared to or relative to seal. Or kasi they share a more recent common ancestors. Ito yung ancestor ng mouse and rat. And yung seal, mouse, and rat, they are more closely related to one another. Okay. And or no, they are equally related to cow. Okay, or yung seal is equally related to mouse and rat. Okay. So yeah, that's how you read the cladogram. So the answer would be it's equally, so the whale is equally based lang dito sa cladogram or based on this phylogenetic tree. The whale is equally related to cow, seal, mouse, and the rat. Okay, because they do share a recent common ancestor here. Okay. Um, ayun. Pero, ayan, so yung mouse and rat, closely related sila compared to seal. And rat, mouse, and seal are closely related compared to cow. So ganun din, rat, mouse, seal, cow, closely or more closely related compared to the whale. And yeah, yung whale, cow, seal, mouse, they are closely related or they share a more recent common ancestor in relation to or relative to the frog. Okay, so, or kung babaliktarin ko, the frog is equally related to the rest of these animals because they share this point lang. You can actually rotate this, etong branch na to. So kasi if you rotate this, pwede yung whale bababa and then yung rat would be sa taas. So the branch lengths here, they are rotatable. So just because from this figure, a whale is adjacent to the cow doesn't necessarily mean that they're closely related to one another. Kasi again, let's say, etong rat and mouse is based from this figure, no, is adjacent. Seal is adjacent to mouse, but no, this branch length here is rotatable so that the rat can go up and the mouse can go down. Okay, I hope that is clear. Okay, so that's how you read phylogenetic tree. Okay. Yeah, so the choice of expression system. This is one of the biggest factor for you to consider when you are to produce your recombinant proteins. Will it be bacteria, yeast, insect cell, or mammalian cell? There's even this cell-free expression system. Now, based from the classification, no, bacteria, this is prokaryotic, the yeast, the insect, and the mammalian cells, these three are eukaryotic, meaning in the eukaryotic, aside from having a nucleus, it also has the endomembrane system na, di ba? The endomembrane system is very important sa glycosylation ng proteins, sa phosphorylation, or essentially yung PTM na tinatawag or post-translational modification. So if your protein of interest is quite complex and would require like glycosylation or merong link yung protein and carbs or protein and lipids, so it would be best if you use yung mga eukaryotic system, but that's not always the case. And if your protein is ano lang is very simple, like wala naman hindi naman kailangan ng ng correct shape or yeah, maybe you can just use bacteria. And sa detection test kit naman, sorry, I have to go back to the previous slide. In here, di ba? Um, Sometimes yung shape ng protein is not really a factor. Like even though your protein is not it in its correct shape, like let's say, di ba, the correct shape of the protein is called the native state. Pero kapag when we put that in heat, it's gonna linearize, di ba? Um, it's gonna denature, and that's okay. That linearized protein is okay for diagnostic test kit kasi antibodies can detect proteins para mga 6 to 10 amino acid residues. So even though the shape of the protein is denatured, sira na siya. Denatured ha, not degraded kasi there's a very big difference between denatured and degraded. Kapag denatured, it's just linearized. The primary sequence or the primary structure of the protein is still the same. Let's say it's composed of methionine, methionine, a series of methionine. Ganun lang siya. Detectable yung 6 to 10 amino acid residues ng antibodies. Okay, but there are proteins na very crucial ang kanyang shape. Let's say yung insulin, no? The insulin is, yes, it is a protein derived from humans kasi it's from the human insulin gene, and it's quaternary by structure. And isa sa mga difficulty ng quaternary is yun nga, yung mga bacteria, they can't do quaternary structure kapag merong there's a subunits. Kaya ang ginagawa is yung mga insulin subunits are being produced individually. So let's say you have a subunit A and then subunit B, and if the insulin is composed of two subunits, then they can just couple or conjugate the subunit A to subunit B in vitro. Okay, they can just do it in the test tube. Just, I don't know what kind of reaction that they're gonna do so that magkaroon ng bonding, covalent bond between the two subunits. Okay, so, and so you have bacteria. So ito yung mga, plus means yeah, plus is yes, minus is no. So let's say yung bacteria inclusion bodies, pwedeng meron or pwedeng hindi. Yung insect cells, they do not have inclusion bodies, and mammalian cells kasi that's kind of toxic to them. Yung in terms of secretion, yes, mayroong secretion system yung bacteria, but it is not as good as the insect cells and mammalian cells. Kasi di ba, yung insect cells and mammalian, you guys know the structure of the cell. The nucleus, after the nucleus, merong endoplasmic reticulum, right? And then yung endoplasmic reticulum, part of it's gonna bud off and then it's gonna merge itself sa Golgi bodies, and then the protein will be modified into whatever structure it wants. And then the final structure of the protein will be packaged, becoming a fully matured vesicle, and that vesicle will now be ready for exocytosis. No? So that's why the insect cells and mammalian cells are capable of secreting the proteins. Glycosylation, yeah. So, di ba nga, that's one of the weakness or drawback of using bacteria. It's not capable of attaching sugar in your proteins. Kaya, and since our interest, kasi di ba we produce recombinant protein. So, ang ginamit namin is mammalian cells kasi the fact that recombinant proteins based on its structure, based on X-ray crystallography, or ano pa ba yung way to detect a protein structure aside from X-ray crystallography is yung cryo-electron microscopy. So there are two ways. It's either cryo-EM or cryo-electron microscopy, and the other one is X-ray crystallography. That's how you detect, or that's how you determine the shape of the protein. Okay? You mentioned two methods. Anyways, so yung glycosylation is available sa insect cells and mammalian cells. And ano rin, for yeast is also possible. However, there's a note here. Yeast give more extensive glycosylation than insect cells and mammalian cells. This is the drawback of heterologous expression in yeast. And yeah, PTM is post-translational modification. So yeast lacks some functions of PTM modifications that exist in higher eukaryotes. So yung mga proteolytic cleavage is absent sa insect and mammalian cells but could be present in bacteria and yeast. So it would really depend on the protein that you want to produce. Gusto mo ba ay yung correct shape ng protein or yung shape ng protein ay hindi naman nagmamatter sa kasi yung antibodies naman may mga antibodies na nagbabind sa correct shape. May mga conformational specific antibodies pero there are antibodies na they can detect specific amino acid residues lang. So shape is not really a matter for them. Okay, so this is 101. This is the cell-free. This is a cell-free expression system wherein essentially you don't need ano a living organism for you to produce your protein because you can just do it in vitro in a tube, no? Like in here, all you need is an expression vector. Kailangan mo lang ng expression vector. And then, ayan, kailangan mo rin of course ng messenger RNA from other template sources. And ayan, mag-proceed na yung ating translation. Essentially, kung ano rin kailangan during translation. Um, di ba? What we need is yung mga ribosome. So definitely, there has to be like ribosome in here kasi that's the site of protein synthesis. So yon. And yeah, sa figure na to, yung protein, nag-fold naman siya spontaneously. Secondary structure, and then there's this a coil, and then an alpha helix again, a coil, and then a helix, and then part of the protein is conjugated with histidine or six residues ng histidine. And this is very important for you to capture your protein kasi if your protein is not tagged, it's very difficult for you to capture that. Kasi di ba, halimbawa, sa bacteria, nag-produce ka doon ng insulin. And kaya nag-produce ka ng insulin. And as you know, there are thousands and thousands of proteins in the bacteria. Ano yung method mo para ma-capture mo yung insulin gene? Diba? So that is why you have to modify the protein. There has to be some like a tag, which is in this case, it's a histidine tag, so that when you perform chromatography or protein isolation and purification using ACTA chromatography system or any, I don't know what kind of method that you want to use, like GF, yung mga na-discuss nyo sa biochem, like yung combinations of gel filtration, size exclusion chromatography, affinity chromatography, ion exchange, etc. Pero ang nag-work best for this would be affinity chromatography. So yan. It's very important yung concept na yun that your proteins need to be tagged. And that's very important for you to capture the protein of interest. So this is the bacterial expression system. Ayan. Ito yung genetic anatomy, gene anatomy. Upstream is you have the activation, the promoter. Ayan, you have the promoter sequence. RBS is ribosome binding site, the structural gene, and the terminator sequence. Yeah, we had talked about the 5' UTR or the untranslated region. No? So, yeah, kailangan mo rin ng ribosome binding site kasi, 'di ba, if you do not have the ribosome binding site, kahit na meron kang messenger RNA, hindi yan magpo-proceed ng translation kasi your ribosome can't be able to detect, no, yung messenger RNA na yun. And that's one way then of our body para hindi tayo basta-bastang hindi na lang kung sino-sino yung pinoproduce natin na protein. Okay. Okay. So just to review, given the DNA sequence 5' ATG CATGC, what is the complementary DNA sequence written in a standard notation A, B, C, or D? Quick answer in the chat box. Ayan, still may mga sumasagot pa rin na mali. Guys, we have talked about this. Okay, still a majority. Their answer is B. But, nakalagay ba yung directionality sa choices? It's not right? Okay. So, ayan. And sa standard notation, di ba, if hindi written yung numbers, yung directionality, this is always considered as the 5 prime. Right? So the G should always be the 5 prime end, and the T is always be the 3 prime end. Okay? Okay. So prokaryotic versus eukaryotic gene expression. Um, Sige, I'll just differentiate. Yung biggest difference nila is that per prokaryotic system, they do not have introns, no? And ayan, so okay, so the one on top is prokaryotic and the one at the bottom is the eukaryotic. So yeah, aside from having introns in eukaryotic, yung mga prokaryotic, meron silang tinatawag na, they are also called polycistronic. Polycistronic wherein one gene can produce different proteins. So you have, this is just one gene, no? Um, yeah, meron kang gene A na napaproduce, gene B, and gene C. But for eukaryotic, we are monocistronic, meaning one messenger RNA is equivalent to one protein. Okay, because the exons here will just join together. So, okay. Okay, ORF. Given the following DNA sequence, identify the possible open reading frame. Assume that the sequence is in the 5' to the 3' direction and does not contain any introns. Okay, so what's the answer for this? Ayan. So we have two open reading frames. Okay, so we have two open reading frames, and these are, we are counting. So in ORF, we're counting yung the start codon and the stop codon. So we have the first ORF, ATG. ATG, this is this is a cDNA, no? So ATG basically is AUG, or it's a start codon. And as you know, it's methionine. So we have amino acid 1, amino acid 2, 3, and 4, and until it reaches the TAA or the UAA, or yung stop codon. So we how many amino acids? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's why the length of the amino acid is 4. Okay, the amino acid translation would be the MAFS, MAFS. So this is the start. That's the first open reading frame. How about the second one? So in here, yeah, we have encountered another sequence wherein it contains a start codon, like the ATG, and a stop codon, the TAG or UAG. Okay, so how many nucleotides we have? 369. How many amino acids? Three, because these are codons. Okay, so essentially in this messenger RNA, we have two open reading frames. Okay, okay. So, and by the way, di ba, how would you know if or which open reading frame is correct? So, the clue is kung sino man yung mas mahaba na amino acids, that is the correct open reading frame. Now, how do you induce protein expression in E. coli using recombinant DNA technology? So in here, we need to utilize the concept of the operonds. Okay, let us first acquaint ourselves in the gene anatomy of the bacteria. So this is the 5' end or the upstream, and this is the downstream. Meron tayong CAMP-CRP binding site and the RNA polymerase binding site, and this is called the promoter sequence. Now, downstream to the promoter sequence, or flanking to this, is the operator. Okay? So yung promoter sequence, essentially, ang pinaka-function niya is it serves as a landmark, okay, so that RNA polymerase can interact with the sequence. Okay, so flanking to it is the operator. Yung operator region naman is the site for binding of the repressor protein. Okay? So, ang operator, ulitin natin, dito nagbabind yung mga nagbablock kay RNA polymerase. And then, downstream to this is you have the LAC-Z, LAC-Y, and LAC-A. LAC-Z is for, they call this yung enzyme, beta-galactosidase, this is a permease, and a protein for what do you call this, para mag-detoxify or, yeah, wait lang. Okay. So in this picture, okay, basic sa picture na to, nakapag-synthesize tayo ng beta-galactosidase and permease and forget the other protein, the A. Pero essentially in here, we were able to produce these proteins because no repressor is sitting on the operator. Kasi if the repressor is tightly bound sa operator, then protein synthesis is being blocked, it's being repressed. Okay, as in these figures sa taas, even though you have the RNA polymerase, but you have a repressor, no, so the repressor will just block the RNA polymerase activity. So inhibiting protein or translation process. But if there is an allolactose, so allolactose, um, oopsie, I'm sorry kasi someone saying na I'm not sharing my screen. Hindi ba ako nakakapag-share ng screen?
Nakakapag-share naman po.
Ayun. So, nakaka-share naman daw ako ng screen. Okay. So, going back, no, to, yeah. So, ito yung mga very important, no. I think you guys discussed this in one of your subject na. So, so using this concept, Ayan. So using this concept, instead of using allolactose, gumagamit tayo ng alternative, which is the IPTG. Ayan. So the IPTG has a very high affinity to the repressor. So if IPTG is bound to the repressor cannot bind to the operator, and RNA polymerase will proceed its activity doing complete translation for like Y and A genes. Okay? So, and by the way, in genetic engineering, the promoter that we use is not just a regular promoter. Now, it's 87 promoter kasi is derived from bacteriophage. Diba? Ang bacteriophage, they are viruses that would infect bacteria. And sobrang bilis ng kanilang ng ng synthesis ng proteins for the bacteriophages kasi they have a very, very strong promoters. Okay? So T7 promoters yung ginagamit. So if T7 promoter is constitutive, how do you control or regulate the protein expression? Okay. So in here kasi, okay. So let's say nag-add ako ng maraming IPTG. So kapag nag-add ako, tinatanggal ko yung activity ni repressor, di ba? So definitely continuous yung magiging production ko ng proteins. But the problem is if continuous, if yung cells would continuously produce proteins, what's gonna happen? Mag-overproduction and that's gonna be so toxic to cells. Diba? Kasi hindi lang naman to yung proteins na kailangan niya, right? Magkakaroon ng imbalance sa solutes inside and ayan, and higher chances din na magkakaroon ng protein misfolding, etc. So, we really have to be careful on the amount of IPTG that we add to our cell culture. So kasi there is this what we call toxicity threshold. So your IPTG should be enough lang to produce your desired quantity of proteins. Kasi, yeah, gusto mo kasi bebenta mo yung proteins kasi meron siyang value. Diba? Parang it's a medicine. But if you want to produce a lot without considering yung physiology of the cell, then what will happen? Your cell's gonna die. Diba? The protein's gonna become toxic to them. So yeah, so that's why you guys really have to consider yung IPTG concentration. Okay? So another question that is being posted in here is, can I just use any strain of E. coli? Well, the answer is no. Okay, kasi the E. coli that are being used in genetic engineering are modified already. Okay? They are modified in such a way that they contain polymerases, like in here, the BL21 DE3. The pet vectors hosted in E. coli strain BL21 are the most popular approach in research lab because these DE3 strains carry T7 polymerases. Okay, so what if regular lang naman yung E. coli mo? So, and you have 87 promoter. Okay, you have T7 promoter, but you do not have T7 RNA polymerase. So, how is it gonna work for you, di ba? So that's why we need specific strains of bacteria. And yeah, that's why you guys need to procure or buy this kind of strain of E. coli. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Um, I don't know what's wrong kasi some of your classmates are saying na my screen is not being shared. It's two of them na. Is it a me problem? Or okay naman sa inyo? So, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to fix it. Kasi for the rest of the class, nakikita naman daw. But I'm so sorry for ano. for Yap and Agire kasi I don't know how to fix it. Mm. If sa end ko yung problem, I'm really sorry. Like, I don't know how to to mend this stuff. Anyways, ayan. There's also the DH5 alpha competence cells. Kapag sinabi kasing competence cells, meaning yung mataas yung efficiency nila to integrate genetic material, no? So yan. So the transformation efficiency is greater than 1 times 10 raised to 9 transformants per microgram of plasmid DNA. Yung, yeah, and this bacteria then is capable of doing the blue-white screening and it has a very greater insert stability. Meron siyang recombinase A enzyme. So, may mga, di ba, sa bacteria, may phase yan, di ba? Yung sa growth curve nila, yung log, and then exponential, sorry, yeah, and then yung plateau, or yung lag. Um, yep, evolutionarily, yung mga bacteria, kumakain talaga sila ng ng mga foreign DNA kasi, 'di ba? The last resort, kung wala ng nutrients available sa kanilang environment and yung mga neighbor bacteria, they just exploded and then releasing free DNA. So they can use those DNA na nagburst na mga bacteria na sumabog na. They can use that. So isa yun sa mechanism kung bakit nagkaroon ng variation din sa bacteria is that they are also capable of absorbing the DNA, and I don't know if that DNA can be integrated in their genome or that DNA will be used for their metabolic activities so that they can convert the DNA into some form of energy currency to produce ATP. So yeah, so kapag sinabi natin competent yung cells, meaning ano they can absorb, yeah, maybe I can just use the verb absorb. They can just absorb the DNA. Kasi ang ginagawa natin is gusto natin, 'di ba, nag-design tayo ng plasmid. So, yung circular DNA, paano natin siya maipapasok sa loob ng bacterial cell. So, kapag ang cell ay hindi competent, kahit na marami kang nilagay na plasmid dyan, hindi yan ma-absorb ng cell. Hindi yan ma-integrate sa kanyang genome. Wala kang mapaproduce. So, may mga strains ng cells na mataas yung kanyang transformation efficiency like in DH5 alpha. So, yep. And on top of that is, of course, you'll have to do, you'll have to alter din yung kanyang structure. Like, you need to do, what do you call that? Yung paglagay ng calcium chloride, you have to alter yung porosity ng yung conformation din ng lipid bilayer niya. Dapat magkaroon ng mga pores. So, kaya nagkakaroon may tinatawag tayo yung method na heat shock. Okay, so that's a way for us to increase the efficiency, transformation efficiency, and for us to make that cell competent. All right. Okay, yung mga secretory proteins, we already talked about this, di ba? Isa sa mga problems ng prokaryotic is hindi sila nakakapag-secrete ng proteins, right? So that's why if we want to capture the proteins, so we need to lyse or we need to destroy the cell itself so that the proteins will be liberated. And once liberated yung proteins, if they are histag, pwede natin siya makapture. Pero the problem is there are a lot of contaminants. Unlike sa eukaryotes na if it's being it's being secreted, and let's say yung mga cells na ginamit mo ay adherent cells, no, meaning adherent, they can adhere sa flask mo. So yung mga proteins, they are very soluble na sa sa liquid medium. So pwede mo ngayon mag-capture without other, without other cells. So that's the beauty of using eukaryotic. And imagine if the protein, no, is imagine kung gaano karami yung mga contaminants na if yung protein mo ay hindi secretory. So 2,000 proteins sa cytoplasm, 100 proteins in the periplasm, and yeah, meron pang mga other proteins in here. So this is how an actual plasmid vectors would look like. Okay, so let's try to inspect this. This is the PET28A, and this is a plasmid. This is a circular DNA. Let's try to inspect. And meron siyang T7 promoter. Okay, di ba ang promoter, ito yung site ng RNA. Yeah, ito yung RNA polymerase binding. Yeah, ito yung site ng RNA polymerase, C promoter. But in this case, it's not an ordinary promoter. It's derived from bacteriophage promoter. It's T7 promoter. And then flanking to this region is the operator. Di ba ang operator, ulitin natin kanina, dito nagbabind yung repressor, right? And flanking to the operator is the RBS, or the ribosome binding site. The ribosome binding site can be a Shindle-Garner sequence or a Kozak sequence. So kapag nagpo-produce ka sa bacteria, so dapat yung ribosome binding site mo would be Shindle-Garner sequence. Pero if you want to produce protein sa eukaryotic, wala namang Shindle-Garner ang eukaryotic. We use the Kozak sequence. And then, yep, so let's say your protein can also be tagged with GFP. Ayan, pwede kasing continuous yung protein mo na may GFP siya. GFP is very important for you to track. Let's say ang interest mo is gusto mong i-track yung protein expression from the ribosome. Saan na yung fate niya after. And yeah, para ma-track mo siya and you can visualize it under fluorescence microscope. And the protein should be tagged with the GFP. Okay? So yan. So the GFP, and then there has to be, syempre, you want to stop then, di ba? Yung synthesis. That's why there's this T7 terminator. And then the LACI is just an inducer. What else? ORI is the origin of replication kasi you also want to replicate your plasmids. And yeah, and another sequence is ayan, kanamycin resistant gene. Dapat may antibiotic resistant gene na present sa plasmid kasi that is the only way for you to select your transformants. No, kasi kapag nag-grow ka kapag yeah, I think I have slide for that naman. Kapag wala ka kasing itong kanamycin resistant gene, and still kailangan mo rin dito ng promoters, 'di ba? Kasi this is a gene, kailangan niya rin ng RNA polymerase. So, yep. Maglalagay ka kasi ng antibiotics sa media. So imagine, nagpatubo ka sa plate. Okay? Nagpatubo ka sa plate, and then para malaman mo if pumasok ba talaga yung plasmid sa loob ng bacteria, maglalagay ka ngayon ng antibiotic resistant gene sa plasmid. Okay? So kapag na-absorb siya ng bacterial cell, resistant na siya. Makakasurvive na siya sa environment na merong antibiotic. So that's why it's called a selection marker. Okay? That is a selection marker. So select mo lang yung mga bacteria. So basically, ang mag-grow lang sa media mo or sa plate mo would be transformants or mga bacteria na successful sa pag-integrate ng foreign DNA or foreign plasmid na merong antibiotic resistant genes. Okay? So, yes. Yeah, it is another variant of a plasmid. Ito naman is ampicillin-resistant promoter, and then the gene, the PM ampicillin-resistant gene. And then, of course, the origin, the ORIC, origin of replication, dito nag-start, no? And then, what else is in here? Ayan, yung mga restriction sites. Ayan, yung mga EcoR1, HIN3. Dito ka kasi mag-i-integrate dito papasok yung, yung mga cDNA or complementary DNA or yung messenger RNA na na-convert mo into DNA. Kaya hindi messenger RNA ha. It has to be DNA kasi plasmid is DNA. So, yeah. So, ito yung mga restriction sites. Ito yung mga regions kung saan sila nakakat. Okay? And so, these are the examples of the cloning vectors. We have the mga common, the POC19. How long is this? 2,686. Is easy to manipulate. It has a large number of restriction sites. Ito yung kanyang, so let's try to inspect this book 19. Mm. Yeah, this is a plasmid from University of California. Ayan, so meron dito tayong cap binding site, no? Tapos meron, as you see, may lock promoter, and then ito na yung LAC-Z genes. So, and in this region, marami siyang mga restriction sites. So, pwede tayo mag-integrate ng ating foreign DNA sa plasmid na to. Okay? Dito sa MCS. Or yung tinatawag natin na yung cloning site. Okay? Pero, once na na-integrate natin yung ating DNA or target of interest dito sa gene na to, sinisira natin yung LAC-Z gene. So kapag wala si LAC-Z, what will happen is hindi niya kayang i-metabolize yung lactose, no, yung mga yung mga proteins or sorry, yung mga sugar. Pero we use a different compound. So essentially in here, no, kapag successful tayo sa pag-integrate ng foreign gene natin, sinisiraan natin si LAC-Z protein. Ang tawag sa region na to is the multiple cloning site. Okay? Multiple cloning site. Ano pang meron dito? You also have an ampicillin-resistant gene for selection marker. Ayan. And ORI, the origin of replication. And there's also a P-Blue script 2. Ayan. So, ayan. Dito sa LAC-ZA, yan sa LAC-Z, andito rin yung multiple cloning site. So, dito pumapasok, no? Yung mga enzyme, pwede natin ipapasok dito yung ating target gene, target of interest protein. So, kapag pumasok siya, dinidisrupt natin si LAC-Z gene. Okay? Dinidisrupt natin si beta-galactosidase gene. Na si beta-galactosidase is a gene to break down lactose into glucose and galactose. Yep. In here din, ganun din. So, kailangan natin ng lock promoter. Yan, definitely merong operator dito. And then, yung LAC-Z gene. So, kapag na-metabolize natin yung lactose, yung disaccharide na lactose, kapag na-metabolize yun ng bacteria, ibig sabihin, hindi tayo successful sa pagko-combine ng ating complementary DNA sa plasmid kasi hindi natin nasira yung yung plasmid, hindi siya successful. So, hindi successful yung integration niya. But, if nasira natin yung LACZ, so hindi ma-metabolize ng cells yung lactose, then it is more likely that um, we are successful. So, yun. Okay. So, meron din, yep, medyo, ano na siya, malalim na siya, pero yung mga restriction sites kasi can be pwedeng blunted or may mga overhangs. Yan. So, yung POC19 containing multiple cloning site in E. coli ay, so paparamihin mo essentially dito yung ano mo, yung DNA mo. And then, pwede mo na siyang isa-clone sa expression vector. Una muna sa cloning vector. Paparamihin mo muna siya. And if you want to express it na, you will need to use a different plasmid, and that is called an expression vector. Okay? So, ayan, sa bacterial expression, ang ginagamit ay T7 kasi T7 bacteriophage. Now, for mammalian, um, it has a different kind of promoter, and that is a CMV promoter. So, okay. So, by the way, there are different ways for us to check yung transformation. Pwedeng visual, blue-white screening, or kung nakasurvive sila sa antibiotic environment or antibiotic containing environment, or pwede rin naman via PCR and sequencing. Okay. So we have two kinds of markers. Meron tayong selection marker and screening marker. Yung selection marker, um, ito yung presence ng antibiotic-resistant genes like ampicillin-resistant gene, kanamycin, tetracycline, chloramphenicol for prokaryotic. For mammalian, we have neomycin, etc. Okay? So that's selection marker. For screening marker naman, yep, ito yung mga for blue-white screening, um, green fluorescent proteins, ganun din sa eukaryotic. So kung napapansin nyo, sa selection marker, it's associated with the survival of the cells. Kapag hindi nag-survive ang cell, meaning hindi sila selected, parang natural selection, right? Like, ayun. So yung mga screening, um, ma-observe mo lang sila phenotypically. Phenotypic characterization nila would be visual inspection. Okay. Yung selection of transfected. Ayan. Okay, so this is pcDNA. So sa tingin nyo, kung bibigyan ko kayo ng ganitong plasmids, saan nyo to i-express? Prokaryotic or eukaryotic in the chat box? Okay, so based from this figure, no, it's sa eukaryotic kasi first is the promoter. We use the CMP, and also the antibiotic resistant gene that we're using here is the neomycin. Going back to the previous slide, and these are the selection markers for eukaryotic, the neomycin, and for the ano, Yeah, the CMV that's for eukaryotic. T7 for prokaryotic, no? Yeah. So remember that in this protein, let's say this is the promoter and ito yung restriction site. Dito tayo naglagay ng protein natin and sa protein natin, coupled siya ng histidine tag. Okay? So histag. So, and yung histag, we can remove it naman enzymatically. So we can use the thrombin, enterokinase, factor XA, and the TEV. Okay? So let's say, no, this is the plasmid vector. And then, ayan, so ito yung messenger RNA. Meron tayong na-tag dito. Ito yung meron tayong epitope tag sequence. And then, yung target protein natin has an epitope tag polypeptide. So kasi, halimbawa, ang gusto natin is, yung protein natin gusto natin i-secrete, palabasin sa cell. And syempre, di ba, yung mga proteins, meron yung mga specific markers. Dapat nakatag siya na kung saan yung tag niya. Okay, recognizable yun ng cell na kailangan niyang i-release yun. Kasi may mga proteins naman na na endogenous na kailangan sa loob siya ng cell tulad ng mga tubulin kasi part yun ng cytoskeleton. Pero may mga proteins like especially mga enzymes for digestive system, may mga specific tags yan so that they will be secreted out of the cell. So ayan, that's why pwede nating itag yung protein natin. So that's how we play. Okay. Yeah. Strong promoter leads to high expression. The drawback is toxicity. These are the examples of expression vectors like the PET series for E. coli, the PS2 for the yeast, the pcDNA for mammalian cells, and the PFAS-BAC for the insect cells. Yeah, so there's a difference between the cloning and the expression. For cloning, it's used for sequencing and yeah, and expression naman. Expression vector yung merong mga enhancer, may mga codons. Essentially, for us to express the protein, anything that is associated with translation, right? So for us to translate, we need to we need a start codon or promoter muna, no? Promoter or no, upstream to promoter is enhancer. And then after enhancer, the promoter, downstream to promoter is the operator, and then the start codon, the stop codon, and transcription termination site. And of course, we also need transcription initiation site like the Shine-Dalgarno sequence or the COSAC. Shine-Dalgarno is for bacteria and COSAC is for eukaryotic organisms. Okay, so they do have a overlapping or yung members lang common sa both. Merong origin of replication, the selection marker, the multiple cloning site. Ayan. So this is one example ng ano ng engineering and expression of essentially in here gumamit sila ng plant na Nicotiana bentamiana, okay, para makapag-produce ng vaccine for human rotavirus. Okay, so ang ginamit nila, this is just a brief info about gastroenteritis in children. It says here 500,000 deaths annually, and these are the manifestations like abdominal pain, diarrhea, vomiting, chills with fever, and dehydration. And this is how a virus would look like. Ayan, meron siyang viral particle 4, says here it's triple layered and contain a viral genome that consists of 11 segments of double-stranded RNA. May VP4, which is composed of the VP8 and VP5, the VP6, VP2, and VP7. So may mga gamot naman, however, it's nagkakaroon ng viral shedding and gene reassortment. This is a drawback of using the live attenuated rotavirus. Remember na yung kanyang efficiency is just 49.9%. In other countries, just 77%. So that's why there is a need or a call to produce a vaccine for rotavirus. So, ang ginawa is they try to make a VLP or the virus-like particle gamit yung, meron na kasi sa potato before na nakagawa sila ng virus-like particle wherein it's coated with the VP6 sa patatas. So in here naman, in this study, what they want to do is they want to produce a virus-like particle sa Nicotiana and Bentamiana leaves sa dahon. Okay? Express several rotavirus proteins in plants via transient agroinfiltration mediated expression in and Bentamiana leaves. So, okay, ups, it's 7:53. So, I'll have to cut muna dito sa part na to. I will be stress out ko na lang na yung important stuff here. Ayan. So, okay. Dito na lang tayo. So, yung recombinant DNA ay inintegrate sa bacterium called Agrobacterium tumefaciens via electroporation, and then pinarami yung bacteria sa flask, and then via agroinfiltration, ayan, in-incorporate siya sa plant leaf. Okay? So, paano mo malalaman if successful ka sa pag-produce ng proteins? So, we can use ELISA. So, in here, this is our target protein. No, and for us to detect the target protein, we need the primary antibody. Let's say this is VLP or VP6. Okay, if this is VP6, so the primary antibody should be specific to VP6, and the primary antibody um, can be detectable via the use of the secondary antibody. So if you use GOAT to produce the primary antibody against the target protein, then your secondary antibody would be anti-primary antibody. So if this is goat, then therefore this could be a chicken if na-produce mo siya using chicken. So chicken anti-goat antibody. So that would be your secondary antibody. And the secondary antibody is conjugated or coupled with the HRP or the horseradish peroxidase so that the enzyme is responsible for producing fluorescence, colorimetric or chemiluminescent. So, yeah. And also, no, since we are using virus-like particle, so we need to use the electron microscopy or electron microscope. So, dito sa figure nito, for us to determine yung presence ng protein is via Western blotting. Via Western blotting. And so present, no, yung protein natin sa cytoplasm, present din siya sa endoplasmic reticulum at certain days, but for some, hindi na. Sa chloroplast and in the apoplast. So actually in here, kung makikita mo, kapag nag-SDS page ka, lahat ng mga bonds, no? And sa mga bonds na yun, those are proteins, but we want to be very specific doon sa kind ng protein. So let's say VP6, so ganun din, we need to use ELISA. Ang Western blot lang naman ay ELISA essentially eh. Ayan. And then, ito na yung detectable. Ito na yung ginamit yung microscope if nakapag-produce ba siya ng, ano, ng virus like VLPs. So, in here, tubular lang yung form niya. Is there positive? Yeah. Negative control yung A. And then the B is the live rotavirus particle. So, dapat ganito yung maging itsura niya. Yan. Pero naging tubular siya. Okay, so this is gonna be all for genetic engineering. So what you'll be doing is this one. Where is it? So this is gonna be a group activity. Okay. So in this activity, what you'll be doing is these are the no, tasks, no? You'll have to identify one protein that can be used as a vaccine or as a diagnostic test. So what protein is that? And provide a brief rationale. You want to rapidly produce it in microbial system. As a start, what promoter will you use? Next, describe your promoter and discuss how does your promoter regulate the production of your beneficial protein. Task 2, continue your activity by incorporating markers in your construct. What markers will you use and why? Are these selectable or screenable markers? Describe the phenotype and how would you assay these markers? Now that you have selected the promoter and the markers, what is your transformation vector? Discuss how will you construct your vector. Describe all the elements that you will be incorporating in your expression vector to be able to produce your beneficial protein in large amount. 4. Now, decide what will be your transformation host. Given that you have designed your construct from previous activities, how would you deliver your construct into your host? Outline your procedure. Task 5. How would you know that you were able to introduce your construct inside the transformation host? How would you check for your transformants and how would you confirm that they are indeed your desired recombinants? Task 6. Your ultimate goal is to rapidly produce your beneficial protein, blah, blah, blah. In the analysis of transformants, hypothetically, you got your desired transformants. What will you do so that your clone gene will be expressed? Granting you were able to express your clone gene, how will you check if it is your correct protein? And lastly, I think that's the last na. Is doble lang siya. Okay? So there is also a tutorial. Oopsie. And okay. Can you guys see my screen? I'm sharing yung PDF na plasmid vector tutorial. Can you?
Yes po.
Okay. So I'll be providing a tutorial here. Um, no, we don't need this na. Pero in here, para makapag-produce, let's say you are developing a diagnostic test kit and kailangan mo ng positive, I know, syempre you don't want to use a live virus naman, di ba? So you can just design a plasmid serving as your positive or negative control. So this is mine. This is my agarose gel electrophoresis when I used to design um primers to detect SARS-CoV-2 during the height of pandemic. Yeah, I was able to discuss this already. And you guys use this. You can use this. This is very comprehensive naman and it's very easy to follow. And before you start, you should have downloaded and installed the SnapGene software. Okay. And then download your gene of interest, click nucleotide, and then input your gene of interest, yung kanina. Okay, get the FASTA format by clicking this. Copy it, the FASTA format in the notepad. And by the way, you have to be careful. You need to use the complete coding sequence. How are you going to know if it's like a complete coding sequence? There has to be like a start codon. The ATG is a start codon. And the last three nucleotides would be TGA or UGA or guides. This is a stop codon, right? So this is a very long open reading frame. Okay, next is, yeah, click the Picambia, etc. And this is very easy to follow. And ang ending nito is, dapat makapag-produce kayo ng, ito yung mga open reading frames and primers. Lalabasin dito yung mga ano nyo yung mga primers na gagamitin. Yun, meron na kayong cloning vector. Tapos after nyo magkaroon ng cloning vector, you want to express it in you have to or you want to subclone it so that it will be expressed kasi nagparami lang naman kayo sa cloning eh. Now, kapag isa-subclone nyo na siya, eto na. You have, yeah, may procedure naman dito for subcloning. And then, so this is gonna be your method. Okay, so this is very easy. And step, 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 step. Ayan. All right, so this is gonna be it. And also, um, I'll be sharing another one. Okay, so still a group activity. What you're gonna do is you're gonna clone and express two proteins kasi I am done with expressing the HEGF or the human epidermal growth factor. Sorry, what you'll be doing is you're gonna clone and express human epidermal growth factor and the factor 9. So this is gonna be your sample output. Ayan, so this is the cloning and expression of somatostatin. So it's a diagram. And all you have to do is follow the the slide. So halimbawa, the aim of this exercise is to work together as a group to design a strategy for the production of medically important protein using recombinant DNA technology. You can click this recombinant DNA technology. Oopsie, stop share. Ayan. Or maybe yeah. It's very easy lang naman. I-follow nyo lang yung slide. Can you still see the screen? No. Okay, I hope you guys can see my screen, no? Yes?
Yes
Yes po.
po.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Go to 3. Pwede kayong click-click lang dito ng go to 4. And the first step is producing blah, blah, blah. And just a brief info about blah, blah, blah. Go to 5, go to 6, go to 7. Basics lang naman yun. Basic info. And go to 8. Pwede kayo mag-click dito ng choice of library. To use the CD library, click here, etc. So just follow this and you'll be able to come up with the correct ano naman. May prompt naman doon kapag mali kayo ng this is kind of trial and error. And hindi lahat ng groups magkapare-pareho yung answers kasi there are different patterns. Pero the ending is, yeah, you'll be able to get your desired protein. So yun. I'll be uploading that like after this lecture. Okay? So this deadline would be like next week, Wednesday. No, Tuesday, next week. Ilang member per group? At least 1, 2, 3, 3. 3 members per group. Kung may butal, 4. Pwedeng magkaroon ng 4 kung may butal man. Pero um, dapat 3 lang. Okay, siguro baka kung may butal na isa, baka isa may 4. Okay, so there's a lot of videos in YouTube. We can also watch on how to do it. Pero just follow my slide. So far, I've been doing this for quite some time already and wala pa namang nawawala. Hindi naman sila at loss. Okay. So, yeah, that's gonna be it. It's 8:07. I'm so sorry for the extension. Okay, so goodbye everyone and have a good night.
Thank you po.